I play the cards I was given. I survive for a living. I get you high for a living. I watch you die for a living. Believe that.
Hi, I'm here to interview Edsel of Dope for the tour that's coming up here, and I am excited, and I want to ask you a few questions to let us know all what's coming up for the tour and your insight on everything. And my first question is, what have you been working on the past few years other than the tour? Anything new coming up that you can squeak out for us?
Well, we have a new album that comes out October 28th called Blood Money. So that's been taking up a good bit of our time. Released a handful of music videos that are out there on YouTube or Facebook. And we've been doing regional spot dates here and there. And then once we got the album locked up, we put this tour together to sort of promote the upcoming album. And here we are in Pennsylvania tonight.
That sounds good. I know a lot of people from feedback that I've been seeing on Facebook and other sites that everyone's very excited
Cool.
for this.
I hope so.
And what I want to know is, how long did it take you to really prepare for this tour?
I mean, touring is we've been doing it so long, so, preparing for the tour is a series of events. It starts with figuring out when I'm available and assembling the band and having everybody agree to be available for the time frame, and then the agent goes out and books the tour, and then once the tour is booked, then you announce the tour, then you promote the tour, and we rehearse a little bit and get our production together. But I mean, we've been doing this so long, and mostly playing older songs. That's kind of the sentiment of this tour. So it's not really that. It's another day at the office for us.
Right. I mean, it's your passion, it's what you love to do. And my next question would be, what are your views on the upcoming presidential date?
It doesn't really matter what I think or who I think is a more qualified candidate. But I think that this is a very telling time. The fact that one of our presidential candidates is ultimately a former reality TV star that has clearly used show business as a way to ignite his following, and ultimately has turned our presidential debates and our presidential election as a whole into entertainment, kind of says everything about where our culture is at. So it's less about it being a disappointment to me who the candidates are. It's more of a disappointment to me and Americans in general that we really deserve what's happening to us. Like, everybody thinks that they're supposed to be a reality TV star, and everybody's so fucking narcissistic with their Facebook and their Instagram, and even artists. Like, who gives a shit what I had for breakfast? I'm supposed to take a picture of what I eat and post it on social media because it's so fucking important that what I eat needs to be seen by the world. Like, the simple concept that people do that is narcissistic by design. So, and Donald Trump is the ultimate narcissist. So we are getting exactly what we are becoming. And again, my opinion of Donald Trump, I'm not saying he's bad or good. That's not the point. The point of what I'm saying is that we have almost become idiocracy, and it's unfortunate, and it's kind of embarrassing. Like, George Bush was, had his own set of challenges, but he was a politician doing what politicians do. I feel like politics forever have been changed from this point on. The way that they promote politics, the way that they are going to proceed in the future with the promotion of politics is forever changed. They've realized that they can get ratings in a way that they never could before. There's no tact or respect level between candidates. They've always been snappy and had their ways of attacking one another through their campaigns, but the lack of tact is pretty amazing, and our country is all about it. We're like, oh yeah, this is what we do. It's like watching the presidential debates is one step away from watching the Maury Povich show or the Jerry Springer show. It's fucking silly.
Right, and people losing view of what's really mostly important to get things in order.
Well, again, it's entertainment. That's what we've turned politics into, entertainment. It's like, wow, cool.
It is. It's a big difference from how it used to be, I feel, but as long as people grasp the importance of what really matters is what they really need to focus on instead of a reality show. And that's how I that's how and why I wanted to ask you that question.
Fair enough.
It's very important.
There's my answer.
And what is your current opinion of music business? If you could influence more local bands,
Keep going.
of what or how they should really take charge to get out there more, besides promoting in itself, which they should know to do, what would your suggestions be of other things they can do?
Well, those are two completely different questions. My opinion of the music business is, it's certainly different than it was when I got into it, and I've certainly lived through, the old dinosaur model sort of slowly dying and the new model slowly being figured out to the point that it is now, and it's still being figured out. But I mean, it's the toughest, most crooked business that there is. It's a business that's founded on rewarding artists with opportunity and experience as opposed to money. How many times have myself or any other person out there been told, hey, you want to play this show? There's going to be a lot of people there, but you don't get paid any money, or you get paid really minimally, but hey, you get to play in front of a lot of people. And artists are very susceptible to that, and they have been for always. Back to the beginning of time, the record company's goals were to make the contracts for artists unreadable, like the language within the contracts for artists, whether it be with Spotify or YouTube or with record companies, it is really unreadable. You don't just need a lawyer, you need a lawyer, and you need hours of education on even being able to understand what half of it means. You can buy a house, and a normal person can basically read through a mortgage, and with an encyclopedia or some Google, you can figure it out. The language within the music business is purposely confusing and purposely, like I said, almost unreadable, untranslatable. It's always been like that, and back in the day, they used to just want to, put the artist on drugs and put a bunch of women in front of the artist and keep the artist dumb and keep the artist uninformed. It's a little different today, but it's still meant to be very confusing and very very manipulative. There's no other business that's really like that. You can go to Hollywood and be an actor, and it's not like that. It's much more clear. There might be some deception and some manipulation like any business, but it's more clear. The music business is incredibly crooked. Always has been. So first off, you have to be willing to tolerate that, and you have to be willing to know that you're going to have to fight for every dollar that's owed to you, and also expect that you probably shouldn't get into this for the money. You should get into it because you have a great passion for it. And as far as local bands, it's hard for me to give any advice on that because every situation's different, and there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to get to the finish line. What works for me won't necessarily work for somebody else. But again, I guess my simplest advice would just be to work really hard and come to the understanding as to whether or not you're a weekend warrior hobby person or whether this is going to be your life, because there's a gigantic difference, and there's a lot of people that pretend that they're going to do this with their life, but they really aren't. There's very few people that really do what it takes to sacrifice and remain committed to the cause. It's almost like a person that is going to start their own small business and they have no other option. They sink everything they have into it, all their time, all their money. They take out loans. They really overextend and commit themselves to whatever that small business dream is. It's the same idea. It ain't easy.
Right, it isn't. And I know a lot of bands do have that big outlook at first, and then they jump into it, and they have to decide how committed they are. It is a passion. I believe that too.
Sure.
My next question is, what makes you tick for writing new material other than your passion? Is there something in particular that really gets you going?
Not really. I just write, whatever it is that I'm going through. Sometimes I write songs about my outward, looking outward at the world and my perspective on that. Sometimes I look inward and write about what it is that's happening with me. Most of our albums are a good mix of both. I think we make pretty wide albums in the sense that we have, very aggressive music with middle fingers, and we have stuff that's very non-aggressive, that's more heartfelt and personal. So it's just whatever that motivation is for that song, or whatever the riff or the vibe of this song inspires it to be. But I just write what I feel and what I think is, works for me, and hopefully other people relate to it. But I don't keep myself in a box or try to, write the same song over and over, or try to, feel like the band can only do one thing. Like, I'm a human being who experiences a series of emotions, and therefore I feel like as a true artist, I let that come through in the band sound, even if, some people might think, well, that doesn't sound like dope, or who the fuck are you to tell me what sounds like dope? I am dope. It sounds like dope because I fucking wrote it. So that's always been my stance on it. I don't make any apologies for it. I actually think it's what makes me a more of a true artist, because I don't censor myself from going one extreme or the other. I just write what I feel and what I'm experiencing.
I agree. I've listened to some of your music, and I just been following it, and I can really, when you listen to an artist and their albums and the work they put into it, you can really sense and feel what they're really trying to put out there and what they're saying, what their passion is through the music. And I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
My next question would be, what comes more naturally for you and the band when you come to decide to put on an album?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
When you do write and put out your music, when you want to write an album, what songs I'm sure you write more songs.
I mean, how do we decide which songs make the cut?
Yes. What really influences you to pick one over some others?
I think it's like anything. Like, if you go to your kitchen and you mix up a bunch of cookie dough and you bake a bunch of cookies, some of them, you go, wow, that one's full of chocolate chips and it's great. And the other one's like, oh, that one we made it too small and it's kind of fallen off the edge, or it got burnt. And you just, the ones that you feel rose to the top end up making the batch. The ones that don't fall to the wayside. For me, I'm self-produced and I do, tremendous amount of the work myself. So a lot of times those ones that have burnt edges or, didn't have enough chocolate chips in them, sometimes they get put off to the side and reworked, and maybe they end up making a future album, or a part of the song ends up getting thrown into another song at some point. But the ones that make the cut, it's usually like anything, the cream rises to the top. The songs that are better, or sometimes you get to the end and you feel like you got to write one more to kind of round it out or whatever. But it's really not rocket science. It's really not.
So how is everybody getting along with getting together, everybody original, and just the passions there? How's it been going through the tour so far?
It's all good, man. I'm blessed in the sense that, I've had a different lineup for every album that I've ever done. And, I look at the guys that have played in this band, it's more like a fraternity. So at any given time, depending on availability, scheduling, and everything else, I put together a lineup for Dope, and I feel like it's always strong and it always delivers for the fans. This particular lineup is, one that we haven't done in a really long time, so it's been fun. Really, the only difference for me is, the inside jokes are different. It's like if you hung out with your junior high school friends, you guys would have your own, little terms that you would throw out at each other, or they would go, you remember that one time when we did this? Whereas if you hung out with your high school friends, you'd have a different set of inside jokes and a different set of stories. So it's the same thing for us. It's you know, just the jokes pick right back up, and you remember, you know, the last time all of us were in Pennsylvania together, as opposed to a different lineup where it's a different set of inside jokes and stories. So it's cool because it triggers a bunch of old, you know, old stories and old humor, and it's easy, man. We're all grown-ups.
Right, it's all about
Have fun.
teamwork. You
Yeah.
know, you work together, you
Sure.
get a great outcome.
Sure, it's easy. It's all good.
I'm going to ask you, on outside of performing, what is your most recent adventures for fun that you've done lately?
I don't have a lot of fun because I work a lot and I wear many hats. Like, you know, I manage the band and I handle all the production and I direct the videos, and and I have other businesses as well. So I'm pretty busy. What I like to do whenever I get the chance, a couple times a year, I go down to the Caribbean, and I'm allowed to kind of unplug and just dig my toes into some white sand and look at some Windex colored water and just kick it with my island friends. It's a lot slower pace there. No one's looking at their phone all day long. It's just a different vibe. It reminds you of what humanity used to be and what it has the potential to be again. And whether it's the people and the slow vibe, or whether it's the water and the sand and the fact that man hasn't ruined it yet, I just feel a different connection to the world and to the earth. You know, my life's pretty hectic, and a lot of it takes place on the, you know, on tablets and smartphones and laptops, and it's pretty draining. And again, you know, not growing up with a tablet in my pocket, because I'm from the generation before, I've adapted to it, and it's very useful for many things, but I also feel like it sucks the life out of us, and it sucks the personal connection to people out of our society a great deal. I mean, I can't tell you how many times you go out and you see a group of people sitting around a table and everybody's staring at their phone, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with people, man? We're really losing ourselves to almost to like the Matrix. It's a weird time. Hopefully we get through it and it doesn't just get worse, but we'll see. But I like, that's, it seems to me like my best ability to enjoy myself and detach as much as possible is to get on a plane and get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Me time.
Yeah.
Right. And one more question. As far as the fans, how do you feel that they are responding so far through your tour?
Great. I feel like, you know, as I said, we've done a lot of regional dates in the last 6 or 7 years, but this is the first full national tour that we've done since the Black Label Bash tour that we did with Zach several years ago. And I think that, you know, with having a new record in the marketplace coming up and with having a full tour to promote, I just think it's elevated the awareness level of the tour. So the numbers have been really good, the turnouts have been really good, people are really excited about it. So it's been great. Can't have no complaints.
That's awesome. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the tour. I
No
know
problem.
a lot of people from feedback I've seen so far are very excited about this, and I hope for much success.
Thank you. Yeah, we're halfway through now, so we got another few weeks left, and then we can start figuring out what's next.
That's awesome. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I play the cards I was given. I survive for a living. I get you high for a living. I watch you die for a living. Believe that.